First step is always long dust. Dust the corners for cobwebs. Just move around the whole bathroom. Dust the light fixtures. All the ledges. Just go behind the curtain. All the blinds and dust for dust. And the next step is to pick up your hand brush and brush off the small area rugs and the bath mats. Just go in one direction and make sure you're leaving a V pattern on the bath mat itself. And once you've brushed them off, just move them out of the room. Give yourself space to work. And the next step would be to do a dust mop or a dry mop. This is to pick up any hair and debris that is on the floor before you start cleaning, because once this floor is wet, it'll be very difficult for you to pick up any of that hair or any debris that would be on the floor. So you want to do this first before you start actually cleaning and getting things wet. Much easier for you to pull out the hair and all that dirt before everything is wet. This won't be necessary for every bathroom, but just for the bathrooms that you know have a lot of hair that will accumulate on the floors. Just sweep everything out. Just fold out that dry mop pad and put it away. And here we're just going to take both the bleach and the all-purpose cleaner and we'll go ahead and start spraying. In the sinks, you want to focus and spray more bleach directly in the sinks. And on the counters, you want to spray more of the all-purpose cleaner. And in the sinks, you put bleach, counters, all-purpose cleaner. On the tub, you can spray both of them at the same time. This allows you to have more product to work with for you while you're cleaning. Spray both at the same time. This saves you time. Then you go ahead and spray the whole shower. Also both products at the same time. Also giving you more product to work with and saving you time by spraying them both at the same time. And spraying the entire bathroom also allows for you to have your proper dwell time that allows for the product to work for you before you actually start cleaning. Focus on the corners where you know there are trouble spots, where there will be mold that is most likely to build up. Spray a lot of bleach in those areas. And you just let it sit while you work in the other parts of the bathroom. So spray this really, really well. If it's a bathroom that you know gets a lot of mold and mildew, spray more bleach. Bleach is your best product when you're cleaning the showers. So the more you use in here, the better. And then proceed to spray down the toilet. Spray the inside of the toilet with the bleach. Just make sure you get the hinges. There's always discoloration that occurs inside those hinges. So spraying that bleach will start working on that discoloration. take some of your cleanser, your Comet, just put that inside the toilet commode. You can spray just a little bit also on the shower base. I mean, depending on how dirty it is, it'll determine how much you're going to put down there. But you probably don't want to use too much because that's going to create more rinsing for you. Moving on to the next step will be your sponge. And here you can spray just a little bit of the Comet onto the sponge itself, just to give you a little bit more scouring power. And clean the inside of that sink with the sponge that's been dipped in a little bit of the Comet. Let's make sure you get the faucets really well. Then you go ahead and clean the entire counter with your sponge. Smooth small items out of the way. And you clean down the whole counter with the sponge. This is the first phase. And always do this part with the sponge. You never want to skip this part with the sponge, especially for a bathroom that is in use. Again, you just put a little bit of that Comet onto your sponge so it gives you some scouring power. And the next step, you're going to take your toothbrush and you'd use a toothbrush to clean around the faucets and the inside of the rim. And this lifts off the hot water buildup that collects around the faucets. It also cleans the discoloration that occurs on the inside of the rim. And for your rinsing, make sure you use hot water. This allows for the sinks to dry a lot faster and a lot cleaner, and just giving you less of a drying job later on. But just leave the water running to get it piping hot, so you make sure you are using hot water for the rinse. For the next step will be the initial first wipe, what we call the dirty wipe. For this wipe, you want to use your blue rag and you just be wiping over the surfaces that you would have just cleaned on the countertop. Just go over the entire countertop and the faucets and wipe everything off. Just wipe it off clean. Just work left to right or right to left, whichever direction you're going. There's a small crevice in between there. Make sure you get in between those crevices. She folded that rag into half and she forced it to go behind the faucet and the backsplash. Just clean everything. And make sure you clean the underside of those items on the counter, so when you set it back, it does not leave a mark on the counter, a watermark on the counter, thereby defeating the work that you're doing. Here she repeats the same process and she goes behind that faucet because there's a space in between there. So she goes behind there and cleans behind the faucet and the backsplash. And with the same rag, she determines that it's not too dirty. She can use the same rag to wipe the front of the cabinets. So she just folded it and she's using the other side that is cleaner. And just with the same rag, she's able to clean off the front of these cabinets because they're not too dirty. You don't need to use any more product than what's already on that rag. You can just go directly into wiping the front of those cabinets with the same rag. If it was dirty, she would go ahead and just switch it out and get a clean rag for this pot right here. And continuing the wiping, you would go ahead and use the same rag if you determine that it's still sufficiently clean. If not, just go ahead and change the rag as often as you need to continue your wipe here. She wipes that ledge that collects dust. She wiped the baseboard. And here she goes on to the other side and she continues her wiping. She's wiping the baseboards. She wipes the sides of the door. And here she goes ahead and she wipes the light switches, the sides of the doors, and she goes down and she's able to use the same rag and the same solution that was still on there to wipe the baseboards as well. So again, this is a judgment call. If the rag is dirty, you go ahead and just change it out and you use a new rag just to wipe out those areas. Next step, you go ahead and move on to your wiping phase, and this is the polishing phase of the wiping. Here we're using, for this phase, you would use your green rag and you'd use a foam sprayer. Just go ahead and spray all the surfaces that you'll be polishing. In this case, it is the mirror and also the countertops. So she's just working top to bottom and just making sure she's cleaning and polishing everything as she goes along. This is your second wipe and it is the polishing wipe. And for this phase, for this step, you would use the green cloth. So just make sure you get down close and you can see what you're doing. It can be very difficult to see the stains in the mirror. You have to get close and lean back down just so you really can see where the stains are on the mirrors. So you see her constantly adjusting herself and getting up close to the mirror so you can really see where there are some trouble spots and where you need to focus in a little bit more on. If you just stood up, you won't be able to see any of the buildup that may have collected at the bottom of that mirror from them brushing their teeth, flossing, or anything like that. So you really have to constantly adjust yourself and get up close to that mirror so you can see what you're doing. So again, just working top to bottom. Here, there's a small mirror onto the side over here. You also clean out those small mirrors that they use to apply makeup or anything like that. And moving on with the same cloth, she's already sprayed on the counter here. And you're going to go ahead and polish the faucets. You're going to polish the countertop. If your cloth gets too soiled, just change it out and get a cleaner cloth. But again, it has to be a green cloth at this point. And because this is the final phase, you will be tidying up all the items you have on the counter as you go and while you polish. So she folds that little cloth and she's placed all the bottles that are on the counter with the front side labels facing out. And she continues working left to right or right to left, whichever direction you're going, just polishing those faucets and polishing the remainder of that counter. And here she just does a finishing touch onto the sinks. They should be dry at this point. All you're doing is just polishing. And the next step, you would just double check your mirrors, make sure there are no streaks. And once you see that they are, you take a fresh, clean, and dry green cloth and you just go over the areas where you can see that there's some streaks, so you just need to smooth it out a little bit more. And for this part, it's very important that you use a clean, dry green cloth. This just picks up all the remaining lint. Okay, now that she's fully completed cleaning that area, she will move on to cleaning the tub. Again, here she just puts some of that cleanser onto the sponge and she goes around cleaning the inside of that tub. Again, just don't use too much of the cleanser because the more of the cleanser you use, you are going to cause more of a rinsing job for you. So just put just enough for you to get the job done. In this case, this tub is not too dirty. She's able to put just a small amount onto the sponge and she can use that to clean the whole tub. Again, also for your rinsing, you want to make sure you are using hot water because again, the hot water is going to make the tub dry faster and cleaner and giving you less of a drying job. And this will save you time in the long run. So make sure your rinse is with some hot water and just give it a good thorough rinse. If you hadn't used too much of the cleanser, this should go fairly quickly and should not be a big rinsing job. However, if you used a lot of cleanser, you'll be spending a lot more time rinsing here. But you have to make sure you give it a thorough rinse. The first wipe is always with the blue cloth, and with this, you would spray just a little bit, just enough to get it moist, and you can go around the tub. And here you're cleaning the towel area that is around the tub. So just go around the entire tub with the blue cloth. And these areas should only just have dust on them. So all you're doing is cleaning to pick up for dust. And change the cloth as often as you need to. Just make sure you put the items with the labels facing out. And your next step will be your polishing. And for the polishing, again, you use your green cloth and our foam spray. And here you're going to polish the faucets. And you just go over the tub. So one more time just to make sure everything is super clean and there's no residue left over there with your green cloth. And now we'll move on to tackling the shower. And here we'll start with the shower doors. And we'll just spray a little bit of cleanser onto the sponge. And we will start cleaning the inside of the shower doors. This is a shower that gets used often, and there's a lot of soap scum on the inside of that shower door. And here she also cleans the underside of that shower door where there is that plastic that keeps the water secure inside. You also have to clean the underside of that plastic. If there was a railing here, you'd go ahead and clean the inside of that railing with your sponge as well. So this is a shower that is used often. You have to clean the inside of that shower, glass shower, with your sponge first. And depending on how much soap scum you have, you would use more of your all-purpose cleaner, and sometimes you would want to use more of your cleanser. So this is a judgment call. That is the cleaner you have to make depending how much product you actually have to use to clean those surfaces. But the job is to make sure that the surfaces are cleaned and they're cleaned thoroughly. So you clean the entire shower with the sponge. And here you just focus on cleaning the tile itself. The tiles also accumulate a lot of soap scum. We had already sprayed this shower down earlier with bleach. So if there were any mold stains, the bleach should have been working on those stains for you, and it will be less of a scrubbing job for you. But here we just focus on cleaning the tile itself and the removal of any soap scum. So just clean the entire tile walls of the shower. Now that that's complete, she'll put away the sponge. Next, she'll pick up the brush. Now with the brush, we are going to focus strictly on cleaning the grout lines. And depending on how dirty it is, you may want to be applying more cleaner as you are actually going along these grout lines. And just focus on the trouble spots. Here we focused on the underlip and also where the water actually sits and collects on the door there. Again, the focus with this is to clean the grout lines. And you just go around the entire shower and you focus on the grout lines with the brush. I could just move fairly quickly on areas where you don't need to, and focus in on areas where you notice that there is some trouble brewing or there's some mold and mildew, and then you focus in on that. Again, just spray more solution as you go and focus in on the trouble spots. And then you clean the entire floor. And the floor needs a very good scrub. Here she's spraying, and she's spraying more product as she's scrubbing. Spraying more product as she's scrubbing. Okay, so now that we've completed the scrubbing, we're going to go ahead and do the rinse of the entire shower. And here you have to give it a very good rinse. And again, ideally you want to use hot water, because the hot water again will dry cleaner and much faster. And here she'll give the shower doors a good rinse as well. And she'll close it off and just tilt the water away from her. And just use her fingers to cup the water and rinse off those shower doors. Make sure the water is turned away from you and also away from the doors. You don't want to get any excess water onto the floor of the bathroom. And the next step will be the drying phase. You're going to use your blue microfiber cloth and you're going to wipe everything top to bottom, left to right. And the next step will be your polishing phase. And for this step, you'll need your foam sprayer and your green cloth. Just go ahead and spray your shower door with the foam sprayer. Just spray the faucets, or you can spray directly onto the blue rag. But this is a large area that's being worked on, and to ensure you have enough product, it's preferable that you can spray directly onto the surface that you're going to be working on. And just use your green microfiber cloth, and you are polishing the shower door here. Here she's working on the outside. And she's using the same stroke, so she's going up and down stroke. This will make it easier for her to see if there's any areas where she needs to go and remove any streaks. By cleaning with one stroke, she'll be able to know which side of the shower door needs to be buffed up some more. So if you, in this case, she's going up and down on the outside. When she moves over to the other side, as you're going to see in this next step, she's going to go in the opposite direction. And here she'll know when she looks at the shower door which side she needs to go to remove any excess streaks. Now, if it is a stone tile like this, you don't need to polish it. If this was a ceramic tile, you would need to just wipe off some of the excess moisture that will leave some streaks on the tile. But in this case, it's a stone tile, so it does not need to be polished. She'll just polish the faucets and clean that glass where she has all of her toiletries. And the last step is she'll work on the bottom of the shower where she was stepping on. And here she'll use the blue cloth to just wipe it off clean. And you may want to reach into those corners just to make sure there's nothing remaining. Just rinse off any of the excess water onto the rag and just pour it directly into the drain. And you can continue using the same cloth to wipe down the entire shower. And don't forget to wipe off the ledge on the outside of the shower as well. That gets a lot of dust, and in some instances you will find some hot water buildup in those areas, and you may need to just use your brush to get some of that hot water buildup off. If there was any water that spilled over onto the floor, now would be a good time for you to pick it up. Now moving on to the toilet, we're going to go ahead and use our toilet brush to clean off those hinges. Like I said earlier, these hinges get a lot of discoloration, so you want to use a toilet brush to get those areas first, and then you can use your toilet brush to clean the inside of the commode. You want to make sure you just get a good grip onto the top and the underlip of that commode. There's always a lot of buildup in there, and you want to get it deep into the inside of that hole, and you make sure you clean that really well. If you don't, there's always hot water stains that collects onto the bottom of that hole. So just make sure you get your toilet brush in there and really give it a good scrub. And next you get your pumice stick, and you would use this to clean the underside of the toilet. If you don't do this, the underlip of the toilet will have a lot of buildup that collects under there, and that will create some problems for the customer in the long run. So we want to make sure we always give the underlip of that toilet a good scrub with the pumice stick, and just follow with the toilet brush to loosen up and drop off any of the dirt that was left. And next step, we use your blue cloth, a clean blue cloth, and just spray a little bit of bleach onto the rag itself, and you would work from top to bottom, wiping the entire toilet here, the top of the toilet, the front, the sides of the tank, using your blue cloth. Or you can use a paper towel for this phase. If you don't have access to paper towel, you can use your blue cloth. And it's important you work your way from top to bottom here. And also change the cloth of the paper towel as often as you need to. In this case, she's able to use the same cloth and clean off the whole toilet. And when it gets dirty, she can fold it over and use the other side. Make sure you clean the underside of the toilet base, and also the legs where the toilet sits. And make sure you put away the blue cloth that you used and you don't use it anywhere else. Then you take a fresh, clean blue cloth or fresh, clean paper towel, and you just go over it one more time just to make sure there's no residue left over on that toilet. Here you just do, it's a dry wipe, a quick dry wipe of everything. Make sure you give the toilet a good flush. This was the second flush. It's advisable to flush more than once just to make sure all the loosened debris from your first scrub of the underlip of the toilet is completely clean and nothing is falling off. So make sure you flush a few times. And while you're here, this is a good time for you to clean the sides and the back of the toilet. These are areas that are difficult for the mop to reach. So you want to reach behind the toilet and clean the sides, and also wipe the baseboards while you're down there as well. Just make sure you give the baseboards a really good wipe. And also make sure you dust off the toilet paper holder. In this case, she used her green cloth just to polish it off and get the dust off. And while you're there, you would fold your paper towel into a neat triangle. This will indicate that the bathroom has been professionally cleaned, and we must do this in all the bathrooms that we clean. And for a small area like this, you can continue to clean off the floor with your blue cloth. Just give it a good wipe down. And also while you're here, you will go ahead and wipe the light switches. Just double check your work, make sure everything looks nice and clean. Now that we've completed the whole entire bathroom, we're going to go ahead and tackle the floors. For this floor, it is a stone floor. We're going to use our stone floor cleaner. We've already dust mopped. And this is a floor where we need to clean the grout. So we're going to use our extended brush here and just work in sections. We're going to spray our stone floor cleaner and use the extended brush to clean the area where we have just sprayed. And with the brush, you want to make sure you put a lot of pressure onto that brush, so you're giving it a lot of leverage to actually, clean that grout. So just work in sections and just give it a good scrub. Okay, now we've completed the scrub of the entire floor, and here I'm trying to avoid stepping onto the carpet with my dirty shoes. So I'll just use my rag to step on first. It's just as a safety precaution. You don't want to get that carpet dirty from the work that you've been doing in the bathroom. So always just have a cloth close by, a clean cloth that you can step on, and you avoid getting the carpet dirty for your customer. And the next step will be to just wipe off the cleaning solution that you would have used to brush. And here you work in an S pattern, just making sure you are picking up everything that is on the floor. And if your mop pad gets dirty here, and here you are actually using your wet mop pad as well. If it gets dirty or it gets too wet, just change it out. You want to change this pad out as often as you need to, just so that the floor is actually getting cleaned and you're not just moving the dirt from one part of the floor to the other. So if the floor is really dirty, just remember you will need to change this pad out several times. So just have some fresh clean pads nearby that you can change out as often as you need to really clean this floor. And again, just using that rag to step on first so you're not getting the carpet dirty when you step off that bathroom floor. Taking a closer look, you'll see there is some hair that's still remaining on the floor. Just go ahead and pick the remaining hair out with your blue rag. And this is a grout tile, so you will want to dry that grout. And to do that, you're going to use your grout mop, which also doubles as a dust mop. And this is going to pick up that excess hair that you just saw. And it's also going to dry the grout and clean deeper in between those grout lines. We cannot leave the grout lines wet because that will cause a discoloration over time. So you want to finish off your mopping of these tile floors with your grout mop. And you want to make sure you're putting a lot of pressure onto that mop. So it's actually going in between those crevices and picking up more of the moisture that is trapped in between those grout lines. And again, you may want to change this mop pad a few times, just depending on how dirty the floor is and how big the floor is. So this will be the final step, and you would just be drying and picking up any of the excess remaining hairs that are on the floor. And here we have some finishing touches. She notices that during her spraying of the floor, she got that pole wet, and she just wipes that down so that it's shiny and there isn't any excess splatters on there. And she'll collect the trash and put it back to where she found it. And this will be the stage where she'll put back the rugs. The floor is dry, she can put back the rugs. And you put them back to the original position where the customer had them. And in putting back the rugs, you may find that some more hairs are going to land on the floor. And you'll just go ahead and just pick up those excess hairs in those areas where they would have fallen. This is typical, but you want to make sure you pick it up anyway. And if you do determine that, well, maybe let me just go over it one more time, you just quickly go over it one more time with your dust mop and just get everything off. I mean, the key thing is you don't want to have any hair left onto the floor. And the customer does not want to come home and see excess hair on the floor. And finally, check your work. Check your work at different angles, turn off the lights, and make sure everything is clean.